qualifying time. I passed tech, and you might notice I'm not in the YXZ. There was a bad wheel bearing. We couldn't get the part in time, and there was no point in putting it in here just to have it break. We knew it wasn't going to finish the course, and that was before I heard how brutal it's going to be today. So I heard it there.
They didn't do it again. They only did it back there.
Maybe I'm hearing that clunk in there.
Careful.
We're doing the parade lap, checking it out. Wow, this is definitely rocky. Glad I'm not in the YXZ. Oh! Oh my God! Wow, this is technical. What do you think so far? We're only like a second in.
I don't like it.
Well, you don't have to drive it, but I'm scared.
I don't want to throw it.
I'm not going to break it, I promise. So I'm actually kind of glad I'm in this. The bigger tire is going to be a big advantage. So I am going to go out here and qualify. I am not out here to do anything special because I haven't driven this in a while, and I don't want to break it. We just put that $1,200 diff in this, so I don't want to be the one to break it this time. See how it goes. Well, I didn't stall, so I thought I was already off to a better start, but then I knew right away something wasn't right. It definitely didn't feel like it was four-wheel drive. I didn't pre-run the course, so I had no clue what was ahead of me.
She don't realize that straight goes for a ways.
He was right, and because of that, I did not have that great of a qualifying lap. In fact, last time I qualified better than the YXZ, but I did get the whole shot. Started like 38, so it really didn't matter. But that's Michigan Off-Road Recovery, and he's in a Honda Pioneer, and look what immediately out of the gate we are up against. So I told Chris I wasn't going to take the Joker, even though I totally think this machine was capable of it, because we just didn't want to beat it up, and we ended up doing that anyway. But thank you, baby, for still letting me go, even though there were some changes to the course. You just heard me cheering for Connor from UTV Outlaws. He is the junior racer out here. He's doing this in a small car, and he's a little guy. Now, I knew right here something was up. I just didn't have the power getting up those hills. I looked down, it says four-wheel drive, but it surely still doesn't feel like it. A little bit worried that I might have broke it, and Chris is going to be a bum, but at this point, I don't want to stop. It's way fun. I'm doing this by myself, and there's so much to keep track of. See how he just pulled off onto another trail? He's not cheating, that's totally legal. In this particular type of race, there are trails that take you different directions and different lanes throughout the track. And you have to pay attention not only to what you're doing, but you still have to, just like in the trails, pay attention to what everybody else is doing too. Because if you are just tunnel vision down the trail ahead of you, there could be someone coming in behind you, coming out in front of you, coming in the side of you. You just have to watch all directions and try to be as fast as you can, and not break your machine. You heard right, that's a horn, and no, I'm not stuck in traffic. In this particular race, they do allow drivers to use horns to indicate to other drivers that they need to move out of their way. I don't know if I like that one or not, because sometimes, like right now, I don't really have anywhere to go, and you have to kind of use your head and not just let everybody around you, because it is a race, so maybe they're ahead of you in the race, or maybe they're not. If you just pull over and let them go by, you could lose your place. However, I did know that particular driver was a faster driver than me, so I let him go. Remember, even though I'm in the NA class, the turbo class is still out here on the track at the same time as me, so it's good to be a respectful racer and not hold people up just because. So I'm far enough into the race to try and compare running it in the XX versus the YXZ. In locations like these where it was really tight, I actually kind of missed the YXZ because it was so narrow, I didn't have to be as particular. The Wildcat is pretty wide, so if I didn't set myself up just right, I did have to do some maneuvering. However, these ruts, way better in the Wildcat, bigger tire, of course it just makes sense. The suspension, so much better, I'm not getting beat up. But look, visibility when I've crest hills, I can't hardly see anything, I'm super short. So that was a problem for me. In fact, it added about a couple minutes on my first lap time because every hill I crested, I was practically blind and nervous about what was on the other side. Not much different really with the YXZ. You'll see here, my Switch may say 4-wheel drive, but look, definitely had to just mash it to get up these hills and work the guts out of it, especially in places like right here where the sand is super deep. I just couldn't go. I just had to give it all I had and floor it and make my way around it. And I know I was in a few people's way, but they just had to hang out there. So right over there, that's the Joker. I pass up the Joker every single time. Sorry guys, I did not get into that particular action with this machine. I tried to talk Chris into a few times, but no, he wouldn't let me. And he told me this is why. Because look at this track. You've already seen a lot of things, but depending on, look at, there's obstacles like that right there, that if you don't pay attention and you miss them, you could be hung up in all kinds of different ways around this track. So, Joker, not for me, even though I wasn't in the YXZ. I may race a lot, but nerves are still a thing for me. So this point in the race right here is always a pretty significant one for me because I finished that first lap. So now I know I've got the capability to make it all the way around this track. I know where to watch out for, and I know where I can really get at it. So the confidence level goes up a little bit, and so does my lap time every time around. The increase in confidence is great because this particular track only gets more brutal as the race goes on. Vehicles are broken down that you now have to navigate around. The ruts get deeper every lap around. So you have to keep your head in the game or the race, or you're going to mess up one way or another. At least these tires kind of got out of the way. And right here, comparison XX versus YXZ. OMG, definitely loving the Wildcat through these motocross humps. They were fun in the YXZ, but it's a lot better on my back and my body in the XX for sure. Made it around again, but did I just say Chris? Yeah, I did. So I found out later on that he and Dave Clark got called out there because Joe Plowman, who drives and races and is in a wheelchair, had actually rolled down one of those hills and needed some help getting out. So they were out there helping him get out. Now I know I'm nowhere near as fast as some of the guys out here, but I will say that I'm middle of the pack because I spend so much time riding in similar terrain like this at home in St. Helen. These deep ruts, the tight trails specifically. So I can't tell you how many different racers I say this race is so exhilarating because the trees and you're ripping through tight trails. I do that all the time back home in St. Helen. This type of race is an endurance race. It requires not only physical strength, but it's going to require that mental stability and strength too. You're out here for an hour and a half, so by the time you're done with your race, you're tired. But you can't let your mind go either because you have to be not only thinking about what's coming up next, you have to be watching for all different racers, all different directions, and figuring your way out through all the different scenarios. I can't see much cresting hills, but I do have mirrors, and this is one of those times that I always end up getting stressed out in racing when I see other racers coming up on me, especially today because I knew something wasn't right with the car. Like, look, I can hardly make it up this hill. So most of them get around me. That was a good spot, but it always is when I start to get in my head and panic a little bit. And then things like this, like, look, now not only do I got to keep my head right, but I've got to work through these elements and know what's on the other side of that, even though I'm driving blind into the dust. So it really is a head game in these races, but it's a great opportunity to become a better driver all the way around. Something I was the most excited about with this particular race, running it in the XX, was being able to hit the jumps much harder than I did in the YXZ. Well, when you can't get enough power to get up a hill in the deep sand, you're never going to hit a jump. And so I actually didn't jump at all throughout this race, which bummed me out a little bit, but I made it through the race, and that's what matters. Looked in the mirror again, and I knew I saw a UTV Outlaws car back there. Pretty sure it was Aubrey, so I had to step up my game. Saw her trying to make that pass on me. Oh no, girl, sorry, love you, but you're not getting around me. Whew, held my spot. I'm sure her adrenaline was pumping just as mine. I kept racing through those tight, twisty trails, navigating around broken down machines, trying to make sure she didn't close that gap on me. But there came a hill and she had four-wheel drive, so bye! She soared right on past me. While the XX does really good navigating through tight, twisty trails, sometimes my advantage really was just the fact that I could hold my line and there was nowhere else to go, so I had to hold it. But the real key to this race, see how he turns off right there? He obviously knew this track better than me and was able to use those shorter paths that gave you a much shorter track lap. Another key is not hitting a tree and having to back up like I did right there. That would definitely also make you have a faster lap time. Well, I made it. And I'm pretty excited to say that I actually made my goal of getting in top 10 in my class. I finished 9th in my class out of 19, and I finished 21st out of overall for side-by-sides, and I don't remember exactly how many there were, but I started like 38. So there's usually about 40, so that's impressive. I'm proud of myself. I did it also in two-wheel drive, and apparently almost ready to lose my arm. What happened there? But anyway, no one. Someone was up here earlier, and I got back. I kept hearing a clink throughout the race, and I thought maybe I just broke a sway bar or something, or hoping it wasn't anything else. And but no, apparently it was that bolt just kind of wiggling its way out. And luckily, this was brutal. I mean, really brutal. And so luckily it didn't, because that would have probably been bad. But thanks, babe, for getting it all ready for me. I had a lot of fun, and I feel like I did my best race today.